The strikes are successful, targets are being destroyed, and the special military operation continues. At the same time,
Ukraine recently dealt a blow to Russia's oil refineries. They have taken out, as a matter of fact, 20% of Russia's oil refinery capacity over the course of their attacks throughout the month of August. So the president is continuing to watch this intently.
I'd like it to stop. I want to get it to stop. And it will not be a world war, but it'll be an economic war. And an economic war is going to be bad. And it's going to be bad for Russia, and I don't want that.
The special military operation is ongoing. Strikes on Russian infrastructure facilities continue, often targeting civilian infrastructure in Russia by the Kyiv regime. The Russian armed forces are also fulfilling their objectives. As stated, they continue to strike military and military-related targets. The strikes are successful. Targets are being destroyed, and the special military operation continues. At the same time, Russia remains committed to pursuing negotiations in order to achieve our aims through political and diplomatic channels.
There have been reports from various sources about a possible ceasefire in the air. President Lukashenko also recently discussed this in an interview. Overall, the topic is currently on the agenda. Could you please comment on it?
No agreements have been reached on this matter, and I reiterate once more, everything that can be discussed in the pursuit of finding ways to progress towards regulation should be handled discreetly. This is in the best interests of business.
The New York Times has just reported that Russian reconnaissance drones are flying over American weapons supply routes in Germany. Have you had a chance to read the report, and what's your comment on it?
To be honest, no, they didn't. But it's hard to believe, because if they had, the Germans would have seen it clearly and probably wouldn't have kept quiet. So, of course, it all sounds more like another newspaper hoax.
First of all, the drone and missile strikes that took place overnight in Ukraine. General Keith Kellogg, the president's special envoy, has described these attacks as egregious. Do you agree with that description, and do you view President Putin as an impediment to getting peace between these two countries?
Well, it's not about if I agree, it's about what the president thinks, and I know what the president thinks because I talked to him about this. He was not happy about this news, but he was also not surprised. These are two countries that have been at war for a very long time. Russia launched this attack on Kyiv, and likewise, Ukraine recently dealt a blow to Russia's oil refineries. They have taken out, as a matter of fact, 20% of Russia's oil refinery capacity over the course of their attacks throughout the month of August. So the president is continuing to watch this intently, and this killing, unfortunately, will continue as long as the war continues, which is why the president wants it to end. And that's why he's worked harder than anyone to end this war, which would have never started if he were president. But perhaps both sides of this war are not ready to end it themselves. The president wants it to end, but the leaders of these two countries need it to end and want it to end, must want it to end as well. And I think the president will make some additional statements on this later.
Go ahead.
On the way to Alaska, you had mentioned that there would be severe consequences if Vladimir Putin did not agree to a ceasefire.
Yeah.
After that summit that was rolled back, given the negotiations, is he back on the clock now?
I want to see that deal end. It's very serious what I have in mind if I have to do it, but I want to see it end. I think that in many ways he's there. Sometimes he'll be there and Zelensky won't be there. You know, it's like, who do we have today? I got to get them both at the same time. But I want to have it end. We have economic sanctions. I'm talking about economic, because we're not going to get into a world war. No, I'd like it to stop. I want to get it to stop. And it will not be a world war, but it will be an economic war. And an economic war is going to be bad. And it's going to be bad for Russia, and I don't want that. Now, I have to also see, because not everybody, you know, Zelensky's not exactly innocent either, okay? You know, it takes two people to tango, and I say it all the time. You got to get them together. I get along with Zelensky now, but we have a much different relationship, because now we're not paying any money to Ukraine. You know, stop that. We're paying money to ourselves. What's happening is NATO is buying all of the equipment and paying in full. But even with that, forget about that. I want to get it stopped, because it's a lot of lives that are being lost. Thousands of young people, mostly young people, are dying every single week. If I can save that by doing sanctions, or by just being me, or by using a very strong tariff system that's very costly to Russia or Ukraine or whoever we have, you know. But I stopped 7 wars, and 3 of those wars were going on for more than 30 years. You know, the one that I thought would be the easiest is turning out to be the hardest. That's President Putin and President Zelensky, but I think I'll get it done.